if a complete stranger, a woman who's pregnant, who doesn't know you, doesn't speak your language, doesn't look like you, isn't from your neighborhood or even your country, can break into your house and deliver a baby in your living room and then claim access to your home forever, including your fridge and your cars and your bank account, well, that wouldn't be a very nice society to live in. In fact, it would incentivize as many psychotic, dangerous pregnant ladies and their families to break into as many houses as possible. And this is exactly what the Supreme Court's decision on birthright citizenship has done. The 14th Amendment was never intended for infinity foreigners to come here. In fact, Native Americans who've been here for like 1,000 years, they weren't included in the 14th Amendment. They had to have a special act of Congress to become U.S. citizens. They were tribal people. And that's because the way the 14th Amendment is written, the jurisdiction thereof, Native Americans were under the jurisdiction of their tribes, not of the United States. And much like a Somali, like Ilhan Omar is constantly talking about how much she loves Somalia, they're under the jurisdiction of Somalia. And Chinese people, China. And Iranians, Iran. And so this is why the 14th Amendment is structured in the way that it is written and how obscene the ruling was yesterday at the Supreme Court. One of the most destructive and outrageous decisions in the long history of the Supreme Court. American citizens is not a birthright of the world. It belongs only and solely to Americans, says Stephen Miller, the architect of President Trump's immigration policy. No provision of the Constitution can be read to require national self-obliteration. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's precisely what the Supreme Court did. Stephen Miller going ballistic on the Supreme Court yesterday, calling this a deep knife wound into the heart of America.
This is absolutely a deep knife wound in the heart of the American Republic. Look, Jesse, I can step tomorrow onto the deck of a 747. It does not mean that I am the pilot of that plane and I'm qualified to fly it. Just physically being on U.S. soil does not make you a citizen or qualified to carry on or capable of executing the inheritance of this country. We have people from all over the world, from third world nations, nations that on their own would have never invented the wheel, let alone modern technology, let alone medicine, let alone air travel. And they can just come into the country, have a baby at a hospital, paid for by you and me, and then that baby's automatically a citizen. That baby can sit on a jury when he turns 18 and sit in judgment of you, and sit in judgment of me, and sit in judgment of our loved ones, can decide who our mayors are, our governors are, our presidents are. Citizenship means nothing if it is open to everyone. The idea that you can have a cruise ship filled with foreigners and they just dock at a port for an hour and someone has a baby, Jesse, the baby's an American citizen. They can vote in every election for the rest of their lives. They can be living in a foreign country and cashing welfare checks from American citizens. Look, I know that some of the justices who worked on this, they think that they're so intelligent. There is no possible reading of the 14th Amendment that applies to foreigners with foreign loyalties, foreign citizenship, foreign obligations, foreign everything. And here's another point. Here's a pretty good clue your constitutional interpretation is wrong. If your ruling requires you to suicide your civilization, your reading of the Constitution is wrong. President Grant and the congressmen in the 19th century did not want to create an automatic third world citizenship requirement for America. It's an abomination, but let's thank President Trump, because of President Trump's courage and leadership, we are now on the precipice. Yes, we were dealt a setback, but because of his courage alone, we're on the precipice as a nation of being in a position to end this travesty once and for all. And
yeah, there's absolutely no possible reading of the 14th Amendment that applies to foreigners, foreign loyalties, foreign citizenship, foreign obligations. It's insane. I did some research yesterday. Birthright citizenship did used to exist in a lot of countries and was done away with, especially in the modern era when travel is so easy. And so there's no countries that it exists in Europe. As insane as Europe's immigration policies are, no countries exist with birthright citizenship. Same with Africa. Same with the whole of Asia and effectively all of Western civilization, Australia, New Zealand. And you're talking third world nations that are smart enough to get this. Stephen Miller pointing out the absurdity of it and the danger of it. Here we go.
The weapon we have now, all the rulings favoring President Trump. But can we crack down on the birth tourism? Can we seal the border completely? Can we just massively ramp up the deportations? Because it's going to take a lot more to keep this country solid.
Well, you raise a very important point, Jesse. So obviously President Trump has sealed the border shut. We've stopped all new illegal immigration, and we have record deportations out of the country. But there's a deeper point that you raised that's really important, Jesse. In most countries, normal countries, you can come as a tourist, as a visitor, as a temporary worker, etc. And the country's just making the decision to let you come here for a little bit and then go home. But if you have birthright citizenship, it means if a person comes here 9 months pregnant to go look around at some things, in a couple of weeks, that is the mother of a lifetime American citizen and a direct line into American cash and welfare for the rest of that child's life. Right? So you have to
Are we banning pregnant women from America? Are we banning foreign pregnant women?
Well, what I'm saying, Jesse, is that you have to now think very carefully about who you let into your country, even on a temporary basis, because the possibility, as you said, for birth tourism, right? The idea that people come here just to have babies on American soil, and that baby gets to be a citizen for life. So you have mothers that come in fully pregnant, have a baby, go home, and again, that baby gets Medicaid, and that baby gets welfare, and that baby gets cash assistance, and can send, leave the baby with, a cousin, a relative, whatever, and then just send welfare checks back home. You can support a whole family in the third world. So yes, you can't have the kinds of immigration programs other countries have when you can just have a baby here, and now that child is an American citizen. So there's a lot of things we're going to have to take a hard look at, Jesse.
Yeah, they can even get Trump accounts.
This ruling requires you to suicide your civilization. Yes, precisely what's happening. Absolute deep knife wound. Here's the sunny side. So we've been accused of being an optimist on this channel, and so here it is. The optimistic take is that many people thought that this would be a loss, 9-0, because it's right there in the Constitution, and it's been interpreted like that for 100 years, and that's how the Supreme Court often decides these things. But in fact, a 5-4 decision, nobody would have predicted. It should have been 9-0 against birthright citizenship, and that's what we're going to keep fighting for. So keep up the fight. We will win eventually. 5-4, bad result, should have been a lot better. But we can win this one. By God, we will have our country again. Patriots in control.